What up, guys? Your boy Quake back with a brand new episode of the Diverse Mentality Podcast, number 362. I hope you all are doing well today, tonight, whenever you listen to this. Appreciate you guys as always. First, let's get into updates on Foolio's murder trial. We're going to have a few other things we're going to discuss. And then Joe Budden's podcast, again, has an interesting topic where Ish mentioned something that basically 50 had no competition during his run in music, which is interesting. I'm going to go over the Cash Money No Limit versus live event that happened as well, which is cool. And yeah, we're going to talk about Drake breaking some insane records and more. So let's get into the news first. It is updates on Foolio's murder trial. So it started, I believe, I want to say a week ago or a week and a half ago. And a lot of interesting information is coming out. Basically, there's footage being released of the shooting that happened, and it is tragic as always. Any of these type of events, it's ridiculous. I mean, I don't know what goes through people's mind when they're doing this type of stuff, but you know, it's part of, unfortunately, part of hip hop in terms of some of the music that's been happening. More of that disrespectful music that I dislike wholeheartedly. I think making fun of people, dead people, and all this stuff, and just dissing ops at a point where it's never going to end, unfortunately ends in death and stuff like this. So let's go over first this part right here. It's footage that was released, and it shows the shooting that happened, and then it shows the getaway car and the guy basically cleaning his car. So they got like so much footage of evidence of proof that these people did this that it's ridiculous. I remember when the first report came out of him getting shot and killed, I believe a week or two later, there were reports that Teslas that were parked around, there was a Tesla that was parked right around the shooting, turned on and recorded a lot of the shooting. Basically, there's cameras all over the place in the new generation of this year, of this decade or whatever, because just every car has a camera now. Everywhere there's cameras. Cameras are a lot more cheaper, more accessible. Everybody has a camera on their phone, so on and so forth. So committing crimes in today's era is probably one of the dumbest things you can do because you're more than likely not going to get away with it. I mean, the chance of you getting away with it is probably 10%. If you do get away with it, eventually somebody will connect the dots. I mean, there was somebody that got locked up for a crime they did in the 80s, 70s. And these people are like old people now, 60, 70, 80 years old, and they get locked up because new evidence comes out, DNA testing came out, all this stuff is coming out. And with AI, there's going to be even more stuff coming out to convict people of things that they did, despite them, escaping, let's just say. So, any person committing crimes in today's time, first off, it's obviously a bad thing to do. Don't do it. But second off, if you're committing a crime, you're pretty much a moron because you're going to get caught. You have to have the mindset of, hey, if I'm going to be committing this crime, I need to expect to eventually be caught one way or another. So, yeah, they got insane footage. I mean, some of this stuff is just ridiculous. And they play it in court, and it's very interesting because it just shows, there's cameras everywhere. That's really what these things are. I mean, this is a Ring camera from a neighbor's house is recording this. So you're caught essentially everywhere. I mean, my house has Ring cameras. A lot of my neighbors' house have Ring cameras. Cameras in general on people's houses are now becoming the norm. I mean, why not? Why not have cameras? Protect yourself. If something happens, the people that are doing the harm can get recorded, get caught. It makes sense. And, a lot of this stuff, the footage that gets recorded around houses and stuff like that gets sent to a cloud anyway. So if you were to destroy the cameras or destroy the person's phone or whatever, it's still stored in a cloud. So it's not like you're going to have access to it. It's impossible basically. Yeah. So just don't do crimes, just use your fucking brain, basically. It's not too much to ask for, right? Well, there's another situation in this whole Foolio thing, too, is there's a woman accused of basically plotting the murder for Foolio, which was reported a while ago. Basically, Foolio was having his birthday party. He went out, came back at the hotel, and he got shot at the hotel. There were reports that there was a female that was hanging out with Foolio who was connected to his ops, and that's how they got the hit on Foolio. Basically, a female can get you caught up in a lot of situations, and in this situation, it got him caught up. So let's go over this article because this is the interesting part. Another new witness has taken the stand in the murder trial for Foolio, real name Charles Jones. This time, it's an ex-friend of Alicia Andrews, one of the 5 suspects in the Jackson rapper's case. Her identity is being protected, though, she's going by State Witness 18. The friend says Alicia used to be one of her best friends. Moreover, she hasn't known her for over 10 years. But near the end of their relationship, I'm terrible butchering this name. Alicia was sending some dark and disturbing messages. Prosecutors highlighted one key text exchange from January 2021, which saw both ladies discussing the rival gangs in Jacksonville. Namely, they were talking about KTA and ATK, the former being the group of Foolio, who he was connected with. One of their messages talked about how people like Jones recruit people willing to die for them. But where things went hostile fast is when Alicia sent a text back at one point saying he needs to die. So she's affiliated with the ops. She texted, hey, they got a gang going on, and she, in a dumb way, texted he needs to die. State witness 18 was brought on to testify, also because she was familiar with Alicia's boyfriend, Isaiah Chance. He's another defendant in this case and is allegedly the lookout opposite Alicia. Her ex-friend confirmed that Andrews knew Chance was connected to the ATK gang. ATK, if I'm getting this right, is Young and Ace's gang. Could be wrong because I don't even know. I forget some of these. Young and Aces obviously is ops. So yeah, it is ATK is Young and Ace's gang. And yeah, he's been having his music and his moments with stuff going on. They continued and said elsewhere during Foolio's trial, prosecutors detailed the aforementioned an alleged connection to his murder. She's sending that on Friday night. Hey, could I book an Airbnb in Tampa? This message is what they believed set the murder plot in motion. They continued in their opening statement. Their cell phones are tracking, hitting towers as they travel in unison all the way down I-75, heading directly into Tampa. Per All Hip Hop they used past cell phone data to track down Alicia and Isaiah, who allegedly drove 200 miles from Jacksonville to Tampa. Then surveillance and other phones records show Andrews' device leaving the Airbnb shortly before the shooting and later pinging near the Holiday Inn. That's when the four other alleged assailants opened fire. They moved rapidly into their pre-planned positions, into their firing locations, and then they immediately unleashed a hellish onslaught, a precisely coordinated violence of action, sending a barrage wall of hot lead crashing into the barriers between Charles living and Charles dying. So, yeah, Foolio was killed in June 2024 at the Holiday Inn while celebrating his 26th birthday. Sad overall. But when you're, in the gang life, this is all what comes with it. This is why it's good to be a law-abiding citizen, because you either end up dead or in prison. I mean, use your brain. I know some people, unfortunately, they're born into these areas where it's just gangs all around them and violence all around them. But I hope a lot of these kids watching these artists dying and just going through all this stuff realize that, hey, it's not worth it. Let me just not do this. This is not a cool life to live. And it's not. There's nothing glorified or cool about it. It might sound cool in the music. That's why it probably makes a lot of people intrigued. And it might look cool because of the money that some of these artists get. But to be honest with you, a lot of these artists, like Foolio, no disrespect, I'm pretty sure he was not that rich. I'm sure he made good money, obviously. He made more than the average person ever made. Of course, he made a couple million, but he wasn't extravagant rich. If he was, he would not be at a Holiday Inn having a party with random people and some of his homies. He would be at a Ritz-Carlton somewhere in a luxurious place. I mean, that's usually what rich people do. They don't stay in areas where they know they can potentially get shot and killed. But that's the problem, is the messaging is I'm rich, I'm cool, I do all this stuff. And, a lot of kids unfortunately see that and follow in that footsteps thinking that, hey, it's the cool thing to do. And the problem is with this newer generation of artists, and I have this problem with every artist in this newer generation, is they don't really do interviews. Foolio did do some interviews, Young and Ace, whoever, but a lot of these newer artists are not really doing interviews. So what saved, I think, artists back then, for me, I was a kid listening to 50 Cent. 50 Cent at the time was talking about guns, drugs, shootings, whatever. Most violent stuff you can think of. But when I would go watch his interviews, it would be strictly about business. I don't drink, I don't smoke. All of this is entertainment. Like, he would downplay a lot of that stuff. For the most part, obviously. I'm not saying every interview was holier than thou, but he would downplay a lot of that stuff. And now these artists that come and do these interviews, one, they don't downplay it, and two, they barely do interviews. So you can't really get to know the real person behind this artist image that they have. And that's the problem. And I blame Drake, Kendrick Lamar as well. They're not doing a lot of interviews. So then a lot of artists follow suit and they think, hey, I got social media. I don't really need to do interviews, so on and so forth. And they want to have this mystique. Oh, I'm this big artist who doesn't do interviews. It's hard to get access to me. I hate those type of artists, man. You're a regular human being. Yes, you sold some records. Cool. Do some interviews. Get more connected with your fans. And tell a little bit about your life, you know. I know people are going to say, oh, tell about through the music too. Yeah, you can tell it through the music and still do interviews because the music is still entertainment. People don't know 100% is that you. And some stuff people speak the real life of what they're talking about. Sometimes it's fabricated and it's entertainment. Those lines are blurred on a lot of music. Regardless, I'm not saying that, hey, it was 50 Cent saying that he doesn't do all this stuff that saved me from getting into gang life. No, I mean, my parents, they raised a great kid. And I looked up to them first and foremost. I had a great, upbringing in life when it comes to my family. Obviously, we weren't rich. I was on food stamps a couple of times because my parents came from a war-torn country with nothing but the shirts on their back. So we weren't any means rich. So the excuse of, oh, we weren't rich, we were in a poor environment, so I had to go do this to do violence. And no, I mean, I was poor as it gets, man. I remember me and my brother would go in the trash cans and start digging up for cans to get 5 cents for. And we would go take it, and get whatever money we would get out of it, $2, $3, $5 to go buy stuff at a gas station because that's all we had. And then we'd start mowing lawns, and then that's how we ended up getting at least like $10 a week or $20 a week. And then once you're starting to make that kind of money as a 12, 13-year-old, then you can start going to the gas stations, buying whatever you want to buy and, kind of blow $50 in a month and feel like you're a king at that time. But regardless, like we were poor. We just had a great family. Like our parents were there, they weren't really active. Like my parents were working. They were just having, because they had to sustain, paying all the bills. They were working. My mom had 2 jobs. At one point, my dad had construction. Then he went to truck driving. Like they weren't in the house 24/7. So yes, we did get in some trouble, but we never, because our parents instilled having morals in us, shame in us, that if we do something, we're shaming the family. We thought of that stuff. We didn't do outlandish, crazy stuff. One of the things I did was take my mom's van, and I didn't have my license. I think I had my permit or something like that, and I could have got easily pulled over, and they could have called my parents. Luckily, I didn't get caught. I almost crashed the car at a certain point. So yeah, I did some dumb shit here and there, but it's like I didn't get involved in gangs, drug selling, which I could have. There's plenty of times where I had friends around me that were selling weed or this or that, and I've been around some people having guns and messing around with them, but I just never got caught up in that stuff because I was like, nah, I just don't. I know what that could lead to. It's very clear. But unfortunately for some people, it's not. They just get caught up and they get influenced easily. But yeah, I'm going on a whole rampant thing here. But the reason why I'm talking about this is because the next topic I want to talk about is Lil Durk's affiliate, THF Bayzoo. He was murdered gruesomely as the footage surfaced online. So I did watch the footage, but let's go over the article. THF Bayzoo, a longtime affiliate of Lil Durk, was allegedly shot and killed in Chicago over the weekend, according to a variety of accounts on social media. Additionally, a video that reportedly shows the attack has been circulating online. In it, 2 armed individuals approach a man in a parking lot and open fire. Fans mourned Bayzoo's deaths, and they said OTF and O Block are practically extinct now, RIP. Bayzoo and Melly Live was a legendary RIP to both. Just a reminder, guys, you're not OTF or 4KT. They don't know y'all. It's more to life than just dick eating. Okay, it's a random ass thing. But he was the affiliate of King Von a lot. He was around King Von a lot. But yeah, he ended up getting killed. And it's a gruesome video, man. These guys are, I think, getting groceries. I could be wrong. But they do have some type of cart in front of them. So it looks like they're getting groceries. And you just see 2 men in all black taking out their guns and just firing off, man. In broad daylight in public in Chicago. Very sad, man. But this is what comes with the street shit. Who wants to live a life of worry everywhere they go? Worrying about, is somebody going to come and attack me and kill me? Like, you have to be on point literally every second of your life. You're living with stress about things that you did in the past. And if somebody's going to come and retaliate for that. Like, that's such a shitty way of living life. It's such a it's throwing away your life for nothing. And you had an option to do better. Like, you're born in America. Yes, America's not perfect. But there are a lot of opportunities you could have done. You could have taken a whole different path. But it goes back to, how you were raised, what area you're in, how easy are you influenced, and this glamorous lifestyle. A lot of drug dealers in the hoods would show up in nice cars, man. They would show up, with all the women. They would show up in nice clothes. And that's how a lot of these kids would see that and be like, damn, this is the only person getting it that I see around me. If there was better examples in the hood, then, maybe better things would happen. But, this stuff being glorified online through music and through social media and whatever doesn't help the case at all, man. And it's unfortunate because a lot of these people, it takes them getting older to realize what they did when they were younger was stupid. But a lot of these guys are in their 30s, man. That's not young. Like in your 30s, you should be well aware of what you are doing, what you aren't doing. Like I could, late teens, like 18, 19, 20, maybe up until 25, I could, dismiss a lot of dumb shit that people do around that time, right? Your brain's not fully developed. Once you reach 26, 27, your brain's fully developed. At that point, you really have no excuse. You don't have an excuse. It's stupid. It's just dumb. It's immature. And it's a shitty way to live your life. It's one of the worst ways to live your life. There's nothing that good comes out of it. So, and from where I come from in my country, poverty, there's nothing there, right? Even now, it's grown. It's become a better place, but there was nothing there. If I was born there, I still wouldn't get caught up in that stuff because just the way our parents raised us it's like that's not what we entertain. We figure out other ways. But that's the problem is a lot of people in these neighborhoods don't have both their parents. Either their dad's dead or locked up or their mom's on drugs or whatever the case may be. But still, I think there has to be some accountability regardless of all that stuff. That at a certain point you need to be like, you know what? I'm 25 years old, gangbanging and doing all this. When does this dumb shit stop? Shout out to Chief Keef, man. He made it, got the fuck up out of there. He's in Los Angeles. You never hear shit about him being involved in any type of gangs or any type of diss tracks, or he got up out of there. That's my point exactly. Like a lot of these people make millions too. They make good money where they could leave this area. Sorry, let me rephrase. I'm not gonna say a lot of these people because obviously being born in the hood, you're poor for the most part. 98% of people are. But the people that do make it, like Lil Durk and the affiliates around him, they make some good money. Even the affiliates around him, they've probably seen at least 50, 100,000. Take that money, get the fuck up out of there, man. With $50,000, you can get up out of your area, that poverty area. You can go find a good apartment somewhere where it costs a lot more money to, spend per month. But yeah, from that money, build it, man. Try to work, figure things out, man. A lot of people receive lump sums of money that they get and they just blow it and just don't do shit with it. Back to the last episode with Kevin McCall. I actually found the video where he talks about blowing $8 million. Like you blew $8 million. The opportunity that you got was a once in a lifetime. People work their whole life, 40, 50 years, and never see $8 million total of their whole career that they work. And you got it in the span of 1 to 2 years and you just blew it. So these people get, money from Lil Durk. They get money from these individuals. And instead of like being smart with it and taking their time and be like, you know what, I just got $50,000. Let me see what I can do with this money. Let me figure out. They just blow it on buying a new car, buying a new chain, and that's what leaves them in these situations. If you're blessed enough to have an opportunity to make that kind of money, get the fuck up out of there, man. Look at Chief Keef, like perfect example. A lot of artists got the fuck up out of their neighborhoods, but Chief Keef is one from Chicago that everybody knows that they can point to and say, hey, this guy was involved in the streets. I mean, Lupe Fiasco too, involved in the streets, but he took a way different path. But Chief Keef is more of a modern, for this newer generation example where he got his money, got the fuck up out of there. Why would he stay in Chicago? Why? So if somebody can get their leg back from what he did ages ago, it just doesn't make any sense, man. THF Bayzoo, rest in peace. Sad situation overall, but I wouldn't have stayed in Chicago. Get the fuck up out of there, man. A lot of you guys that stay in there, you guys got decent amount of money to get the fuck up out of there. But yeah, that's the report on him, and stay away from the street life. This is interesting. So there's an artist named LUCKI or LUCKI. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I've never heard of him. No disrespect to him, but he is getting sued for breaching his contract. And this is an interesting kind of label deal or situation that I wanted to talk about because I'm always interested in that type of stuff. So let's go over the article. Rising Chicago artist LUCKI, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, is facing legal trouble with his longtime label, Empire. The label has filed a lawsuit accusing him of breaching his recording contract by releasing new music through rival distributor United Masters. According to court filings, Empire claims it has paid LUCKI nearly $10 million since 2019 and still holds exclusive rights to his recordings under a 2024 renewal agreement. The label alleges that Lucky's attorney deceptively buried a termination notice within legal paperwork to make Empire miss its renewal deadline, a move the label calls a bad faith tactic. The dispute escalated earlier this month when Lucky independently dropped Not So Virgo of You on October 1st. This release allegedly violating the terms of his Empire contract. In response, the label filed for injunctive relief to block any future releases and asked the court to affirm that its 2024 agreement with the rapper remains legally binding. Lucky's team, however, has fired back, describing the deal as unfair and overly restrictive. His lawyer argues that Empire's 50-50 profit split far exceeds industry standards and unfairly allows the label to recoup marketing expenses directly from the artist's share of profits. These are terms they say justify ending the partnership. Following the lawsuit, Not So Virgo Review has already been removed from streaming platforms after Empire issued takedown requests. The song was well received by fans during the short amount of time that it was up. The track was described as atmospheric and was the start of his rollout. Meanwhile, Lucky is preparing to release his new album, Drugs Are Bad. There's no set release date yet for the project. So if Empire, if his lawyer, let's just say Lucky's lawyer is arguing that Empire's deal is bad, then why was there a renewal done? Why were you trying to hide the renewal? Why not just try to, say, hey, we're not renewing until this deal gets done properly? Or was it an automatic renewal where you had no idea it was getting renewed and you were screwed for another whatever amount of years? So it looks like it's kind of on their fault, on the lawyer's fault for not really negotiating a better deal for him. And he signed the deal, so nothing you could do about it. If you don't know your splits, you don't know your lawyer stuff. This is what I'm saying. Like the labels get a lot of blame for artists not making money, but where's the blame on the artist for signing stupid deals in the first place? This is why I say it's better to have leverage when you go in to sign these deals, because you got to think of labels as a business, because that's what it is. The label is a business. The employees are literally the artists for the most part. Some artists end up getting a deal where it's, partnership deals, but majority of them are just basically employees, and they use you as tax write-offs. Either you're successful or you fail, because a lot of labels lose a lot of money on a lot of artists too. People just see the big successes, but they don't see like the other 9 artists. Out of the 10 artists, 9 of them failed miserably and they lost millions of dollars on them. But then there's this one big one like a Weeknd or Drake or Taylor Swift or whatever that makes them astronomical amount of money. But the label is taking out time to invest in you, to complain about a label sometimes. It's like, some of these artists, like for example, Kevin McCall, that's another example. Sorry for me going back to him, but he had this huge opportunity, makes $8 million out of this thing, which is more than enough money to retire on if you're smart with the money. You can easily retire on $8 million. Right now, if I hit the lottery, $8 million, I could live off that for the rest of my life and actually make that money back and live off of just the residual income from stocks that I have. Or the dividends from the stocks that I have. Literally, I put $8 million in a dividend stock that pays, 8%? I'm living good. What is 8% of $8 million? I don't even know the math on that because I'm terrible at math. There you go. I live a great, what is 8% of $8 million? I'm horrible at math. I think it's 80,000. I could be wrong. I'm terrible at math. So, no, I'm tripping. I said 8,000, 80,000. $640,000. So literally, if you had $8 million right now, if you had a lottery, $8 million, right? Let's just say after taxes, you get that $8 million. So Kevin McCall had $8 million. Had he just taken that $8 million and just put it into a stock that pays 8% dividends every year, he could live off $640,000 a year. You're living off top 1% of earnings a year. $640,000 a year. That is monthly. Let's see here. 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, yeah, you're making about $54,000 to $58,000 a month. If you can't live off $54,000 to $58,000 a month, which is what some people make in a whole year monthly, you are just astronomically spending. Your spending is out of control. I don't know what the fuck you're doing. You're buying yachts. You're going to vacations every second. You're buying bitches Birkin bags. Like, this is simple math, but unfortunately, a lot of people don't know. They're not educated, and I get it. You blow through money. You have a lot. You think it's going to last forever. But take a lot of this money, man, and just, do wise with it, man. That's what I'm saying. If people win the lottery, it's like it's an easy thing, man. Just put it to the stock market, let it sit there. You're making 640,000, 8% of your 8 million. You're making 640,000 a year, right? That 8 million doesn't go away, by the way. It grows in that stock. It's growing. Obviously, I wouldn't put it in one stock. I would put it separated in multiple stocks, put it S&P 500, whatever. That money is growing, though, while you're living off of just the dividends. So it's not like you lost that 8 million. You're making 640,000 a year off dividends, and your money is growing year after year in there. Your 8 million is growing to whatever, 8.3 to 8.6 to 9 million to 10 eventually, 12, whatever, as the years go on. So a lot of this shit is just like, I'm surprised at a lot of this shit. So these artists too, they make all this money or they get into a bad deal and then they blame other people for blowing their money and getting into bad deals. They don't take no accountability. You sign a contract, you finish the contract. It's that simple. I've signed contracts where I fucked up on the deal. And I talked about this before. It was Studio 71, shitty company. Don't ever sign them if you're a YouTuber. They're a multi-channel network. And they were taking 20% of my revenue and not doing nothing for me. Nothing, not a single thing. They promised me sponsorship deals. They were like, we're going to brand your company, your YouTube channel. You're going to grow big. You're going to get these deals and it's going to go amazing for you. Nothing. I got shit. Nothing. When I had a meeting with them about funding the podcast and getting me equipment, nothing. They were giving me shit. I cursed them all out and said, fuck all of you. Basically, I said, I hope we all go to hell. You guys are all complicit in this. It's bullshit. But I had to do the contract. It is what it is. I signed it. It's unfortunate. I got promised a lot of things, but I didn't. Here's the problem too. When I signed this contract, I didn't look over the contract to see if in writing it was telling me that I was going to get deals. Like I should have had it done in writing, but that's the mistake I made. When did I sign that deal? 21, 20, maybe 22, somewhere around there. So I fucked up. I should have had it in writing. It was just something that I was fascinated by the glitz and glamour of it. But now if I ever had it, now I look at the deals and I look at the writing. I see, hey, if I sign this, am I going to get this? Is it in writing that I'm getting this every month, every quarter, every year, whatever? Because I'm not signing no bullshit without it being in writing. And I want full access to everything. It's crazy how these artists, they sign to these labels and they don't even have access to what their records are selling, how much revenue is being brought in, any of that stuff. If I signed a deal with a label, I'd say, listen, I want access to every penny being brought in through my name, period. You have to give me access to that stuff or I'm not signing with you. Because I want to be able to go look. I want to go be able to audit my own record label. And it costs money to audit record labels. But here's the problem too. When these artists sign, like Kevin McCall that got that $8 million, right? With that $8 million, you can also use some of that money to audit the labels so you can get paid more because labels are going to hide the money from you. Why would they give you more money? Why? When the company can just keep it from themselves, when you're unaware of publishing and masters and recordings, all this stuff, when you're unaware of where you can get all your money from, why would they show you that? They're going to keep that money for themselves. But that's why you should audit the company, the labels. But it costs money to audit. It costs a lot of money sometimes to audit. So when you're making that $8 million, let me set $200,000 aside for an audit later on so I can take that money and because when you audit, that $200,000 you spend for auditing, I don't know how much it costs to audit. I'm just throwing a number out there, but it is expensive. I know that. So you spend $200,000 to audit, you might end up finding another $5 million somewhere that was supposed to be paid to you. And they have to pay it. They have to fork it up. Once you audit and it shows proof that you're owed that money, they have to fork up. So that $200,000 you invested just turned to $5 million. It's going to take a course of a couple of years because auditing takes a while, but a lot of artists have audited. Chameleonaire audited Universal. And he made a shit ton of money leaving them. He left the label and left with bags of money. And he was like, listen, and here's the fucking genius Chameleonaire, which I talked to him about trying to set up an interview, but he doesn't want to do interviews, man. I'm trying to get him to do an interview. I just had conversations with him about it. I'm trying to get him, man. I'm trying to convince him, be like, man, please do an interview with me, please. But he's like, if I do an interview with you, it's going to end up with a lot of people wanting to do interviews. And he's like, I don't want to get involved. So I'm trying, we'll see. But regardless, Chameleonaire is a genius. What he did was he was having his issues with Universal, right? And you know what he said? He was like, listen, either you guys let me go free with no contractual binds because you guys aren't promoting my music anymore. You guys aren't wanting to release my music anymore. Or I teach every artist about auditing you guys because he audited them successfully, made a bunch of money. And then he was threatening to teach other artists to audit. He was like, I'm going to teach all these other artists to audit you guys. And you're going to have a whole shit show. Either let me go or I start fanning the flames and making everybody aware of shit. And they're like, all right, go. Just don't cause us more problems. That's it. He's gone. 50, same thing. 50 audited Interscope. When they went through the audit books, they found another $23 million that they owed him. $23 million. Obviously, 50 is a different level of artist, but Kevin McCall could easily find another $2 to $3 million had he took out of that $8 million, took some money to audit the label. But it's unfortunate. A lot of people don't know about these things. And, you know, as time goes on, I hope more people are aware. But LUCKI, whatever his name is, audit Empire, man. See what you can get out of the situation and then see if there's money missing or if they're taking or if they're doing things, you know, that you feel is bad behind you. But who knows, man? Right now, Empire is looking like they're in the right. You guys signed the contract. Live up to it. It is what it is. You guys renewed it without really negotiating anything. Deal with it. So sometimes it's the artist's fault, man. You got to take accountability, man. Accountability is very important, especially at a big age. I don't know how old this guy is. LUCKI. Let me see. I'm about to Google this guy. 29 years old. More than old enough to take accountability for things, man. He's born in 1996, 1 year after me. So more than old enough to take accountability for his actions. You know, if he was 21, I can kind of understand some of the shit that he's going through. But at that big age, you're about damn near 30 years old. Take accountability for your actions. But I'll keep my eyes open on this and see what happens moving forward. Let's go over a little bit of the Cash Money versus No Limit versus. I don't know, but the versus is back now, which I appreciate. I think it's a very good, it's very needed for hip hop and just music in general. I think it brings a lot of the newer and older generations together, and it reminds people of certain artists' run or certain groups' run. And it just, for the most part, it hasn't gotten violent or anybody disrespectful or, you know, yeah, some people say some things, and even in this versus, Birdman kind of talked his shit where some people are kind of looking at it a little bit like what's going on. But for the most part, it's paying homage to older generations and even newer ones to a certain extent. It was beautiful to see a lot of these people from Cash Money or No Limit get old because they're growing and they're gracefully aging, but they're still doing what they love, which is a beautiful thing, right? I got to give props to Maya X, who's the MVP, I think, of the show. She killed it. That's my first take from it. Juvenile as well, obviously ran the show, but it was cool seeing Master P, BG, and one thing that was really interesting was towards the end, a Millie was being played. I thought Lil Wayne was going to come out, but it turns out Lil Wayne didn't come there because Turk wasn't allowed there, which is kind of, I don't know, I guess somebody filming in on this because I don't know, maybe Turk was closer to Lil Wayne or maybe, you know, who knows. But Birdman addresses that towards the end. He actually calls out Turk, and not really a disrespectful way. I know he used the word bitch, but a lot of people in New Orleans talk like that where they just say bitch, what's that? And like they don't say it like in a disrespectful manner like that. So we'll go over that a little bit, but No Limit brought out Snoop Dogg because obviously Snoop Dogg was signed to them for a certain amount of time, which was cool. They had that kind of whoa moment, like Snoop Dogg's here, but they didn't have that Lil Wayne moment where Lil Wayne would have showed up for a milli. That would have rocked the crowd. And that's Cash Money. It's overall Cash Money, I think, would win. I think they won, period, because their music is kind of aged better in the newer generation because of the newer generation artists they had with Lil Wayne, and they had Drake, Nicki Minaj, which I know they were signed to Young Money, not Cash Money, but it's still a branch of them. Whereas No Limit kind of just had their 90s run, had a little bit of the 2000s, and that's really about it. You don't really hear much of them in the 2010s and the 2020s. Whereas Cash Money, you know, had the 90s a little bit, then really started to dominate towards the 2000s, and then the 2010s had an insane run with the Young Money side of things, and even in the 2020s now with NBA YoungBoy, even though he's not officially signed to them per se, it's still like more relevant in today's time. So their music kind of hits different with different generations versus No Limit. But regardless, both are pioneers. I love the show overall. Towards the end, Birdman did call out Turk, so I'm going to play that clip for you guys, and then Turk responds to that. So let's go over that.
Like when I met Blood, you know, I just was trying to do something different in the game. I had started this shit young. I was a young man trying to get some money and not be in the streets. And I met BG, I met Wayne, I met Juvie, I met Turk. Shout out to Turk, you little bitch. You ain't here, but fuck you. We gonna fuck with you and we won't fuck with you. You heard me? Don't go off script, nigga. We gonna fuck with that bitch when we won't fuck with her. But that's another movie. But ain't no, you know, Cash Money. When one nigga died, I ain't gonna say died, because we lost a lot of soldiers. but Cash Money ain't built on. You leave, you can't, we gonna still multiply.
Let's go.
Cash Money ain't gonna never die. As long as I'm alive, hold on, Fresh, wait, Fresh. Long as I'm alive, Cash Money ain't gonna never die. Shout out to my nigga NBA Youngboy, NBA Rich Gang. Fuck who don't like it.
Right.
We with all the bullshit. If you ain't with us, fuck you, nigga.
P, where you at, bruh?
You know what's funny is Birdman was drinking. You can tell he was slurring a little bit, but Turk ended up responding to this. He was actually watching the verses live, and then he addressed it on Instagram Live.
Because I was about to go the fuck off. I ain't gonna lie. I got to have people in my corner to say stop. And that's the difference from me and other niggas. I got people that not gonna say yeah every motherfucking time. You know what I'm saying? You need motherfucking known men and known women around you. You feel me? For real, man. But it's all good, man. I don't kiss no ass, bro. I wish them dudes well. But, man, I wish myself more well, man. You know what I'm talking about? That's just what it is. So, fuck how it turned out.
He handled that very, very well, and he's right, man. Not having yes men around you speaking all kinds of shit definitely keeps you from crashing out. So shout out to Turk for handling that in a more mature situation. Then No Limits Mercedes decided to threaten a lawsuit for not allowing her to perform on Versus. So it's been crazy, man. Always after a Versus, there's something going on. So let's play her, frustration.
I am supposed to be here, just like everybody else. I don't know how the fuck somebody else got to sing my song, but not single one of theirs. This shit is fucked up and foul, but it's cool, because I promise I got something for everybody. I swear to God, I got something for everybody. It's so many people that ain't even so. Look how many people that's not No Limit, that's on this fucking stage. Do you see? I'm over here with Timberland. Why do they have me and Timberland on the side of the stage? Make me understand it. Do you see this? I got a whole fucking wristband, and these bitches didn't let me go on. Like, let me make it. How that sound? That sound deliberate, huh? Something just ain't right. It's cool though, because y'all can expect a lawsuit because I did not give permission for anybody else to perform my song. So it's gonna be a fucking problem. Believe it's up and it's fucking stuck. I'm not fucking playing. Bitch, bring them out. Cause I got them on deck. Ain't nobody scared of y'all. Come my way. I promise. It'll get totally fucked up. Come. Oh my God. I'm so mad. Like, I'm over here trying to hold back tears and everything. My phone is ringing because people don't understand. I can't make you understand. But please know, that nigga been bad business. He been janking promoters and No Limit. So fuck them. It's cool. You ain't got to worry about me no more. Not at all.
Yeah, I don't know what happened or what transpired for her not to be able to perform, but that is messed up. Imagine hearing somebody rap your verse and you had a chance to go on stage and perform with everybody on No Limit. Who knows what happened? I can't put blame on anybody. I understand the Turk situation was over the reunion tour that they had, and that all got messed up. They were promised a certain amount of money. He didn't get it. With this Mercedes situation, no idea. I have no idea what the backstory for this is. But, yeah, overall, besides the drama, very cool, man. I can't wait for the next verses. I think it's a really, really great way to just bring in newer generations, appreciate older generations, and just have fun, man. Some competition that's fun, that's not disrespecting each other and stuff like that. But, yeah, we'll see what happens moving forward with the verses. I can't wait for the next show. This is a funny-ass article. It is a woman that insisted she is Eminem's wife. And this is what you got to deal when you're a celebrity. This is the shit that you got to deal with. Let's go over the article. Being a celebrity certainly has its perks, but evidently it also comes with bizarre downsides. Recently, for example, a 54-year-old woman named Jennifer Kleber enjoyed a meal at Daryl's Dog Gone Good Diner in Silver Springs, Florida. When the bill came, however, she allegedly refused to pay. She told the police she was married to Eminem and that he'd be picking up the tab. Fucking crazy. The manager alleged that this had happened on multiple other occasions. Apparently, she claimed she thought the rapper had taken care of the previous bills too. She was arrested for allegedly defrauding an innkeeper and brought to the Marion County Jail. That's it. It's the funniest story because it's just like, what the fuck? I mean, if you look at the photo, she's clearly going through something. She probably has a drug addiction. So it's no surprise that she probably thinks she's married to Eminem or thinks Eminem paid her bills previously. But she made headlines because of that. So This is what it's about, man. It was a $27.55 breakfast. To be honest with you, if I was in that situation right there, I'd probably pay for her meal just for the entertaining story of her saying she's Eminem's wife and that Eminem paid for her meals. I would have paid for her. I mean, that's not that much money to pay for someone's meal. But regardless, this is what it is. Being a celebrity, at times you deal with some crazy accusations and crazy things that people just throw out there. And unfortunately, a lot of artists have to actually entertain some of the accusations they get. Like, for example, I think Drake said it in the Rap Radar interview in 2019. There are women that accused Drake of being the baby daddy of their kid. So he has to like legally take a paternity test if they go to court or whatever, if she sues or whatever the case may be for negligence. So he has to actually take the paternity test. Like, there's no around it. So you got to think, if that happens often, like, you have to actually entertain some of these things and legally abide by the laws and stuff like that. But regardless, it's an interesting story. Continuing on, Kevin Gates is being accused of abandoning his family. This is an overall just sad story because I thought Kevin Gates and his wife, Drika, were going to be together forever. And they had a great, honestly, like, Kevin Gates would speak so highly of her and she would speak so highly of him that I never thought that they would end up trying to get divorced and all dealing with all this stuff. But you never know what's going on behind the scenes. So first, let's go over the article. Kevin Gates is at the center of a heated legal battle with his estranged wife, Drika Gates, who has accused the Louisiana rapper of financially abandoning their family while spending millions of dollars on himself. According to the newly filed court documents obtained by TMZ, Drika is seeking $73,000 per month in combined support payments. This is including $27,193 in child support and $46,274 in spousal support. She cites Gates' ongoing pattern of luxury spending despite alleged neglection of family obligations. The filings claim that Gates stopped covering essential household expenses back in 2021. She alleges he hasn't paid property taxes or private school tuition for their two children, 12-year-old Isla and 11-year-old Kaza. During the same period, Drika's legal team says the rapper purchased 18 high-end vehicles and $4.7 million and bought a $4.7 million Calabasas mansion. Attorneys argue this contrast between lavish spending and domestic neglect proves Gates has the financial means to pay substantial support. According to the documents, their Mississippi farm is now facing foreclosure. In addition, the IRS has imposed a $7 million tax levy on the property. Kevin Gates responds by challenging the validity of marriage. In response, Gates has a controversial legal stance, reportedly challenging the validity of their marriage altogether. His attorneys have described Drika's claims as factually baseless, suggesting that their marriage is deemed invalid. It could drastically alter any support or property division rulings. Unfortunately, Kevin and Drika's relationship has now devolved into a full-scale legal and financial war. As the court battle unfolds, fans are left watching one of the hip-hop's most public love stories crumble. Drika made headlines earlier this year in July for filing for divorce after 9 years of marriage. It remains to be seen how this will play out. Yeah, it is a sad situation. I think them two were like really a good example of a couple, but apparently, Kevin Gates was sleeping around with women. She didn't like that. Who knows what happened? I don't know. I'm not here to put blame on anybody. One thing I am here to say is $73,000 a month is child support and all spousal support is insane. I think that's just drastically insane. I get he's the breadwinner. He makes a lot of money, but $73,000 a month. Nobody needs that kind of money to live and survive. I get the kids, if they go to, his mom's is going to be, a different lifestyle versus if they go to their dad's. I understand to a certain extent that, but come on, man. $73,000, I think maybe $20,000 max. And that's even an insane amount of money to be living off of just because you were married to one person and you had kids with them. I think it's insane. I think the government, the system and divorces are ridiculous. This is why I'm not getting actually married, because I don't want the government being involved in my issues with my wife. That's got nothing to do with the government. And I don't have to get into legal battles or any of that. We're not getting married legally on paper. We're married together. I'm Muslim, so we're going to marry the Muslim way, and that's it. Everything else, I don't care about getting legally papered, all that. That's never happening with me. I don't care if my wife, if the person I'm with, the girl I'm with, demands that we get legally married through government, I will not be with her. It's just that simple. I'm not getting legally married on paper. It's just not worth it. It's not worth it. If something goes wrong, divorce, you lose half your stuff, government gets involved, lawyers get involved. It's all about money. All these people that get into these divorces, the lawyers don't give a shit about you. They just want their money out of it. Everybody wants to extract their money out of it. And why? If we're separated, nobody else is getting involved. You and me separate. And can it get ugly? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's gotten ugly for a lot of people. So sometimes people getting involved helps, but for the most part, it doesn't because there's no direct communication. A lot of stuff can be handled with direct communication. And if you get divorced, handling it between each other is better than having a bunch of people involved. It's just not worth it. Regardless, sad situation, man. Overall, I hope, this situation gets resolved. I hope both parties are happy with whatever result that they want. But crazy, man. Crazy because they were hailed as one of the best couples in music, period. Drizzy Drake. So for his 39th birthday, he got his RIAA certifications updated, which is probably through his label, which is mostly the situation. But he has five singles that got updated to being diamond, which is insane. 10 million sold, which is Headlines, Passion Fruit, Nonstop, Nice for What, The Motto. Two of those tracks are off of Take Care. And Take Care is officially his first album to go diamond. 10 million sold in the United States of America. Let me repeat that because a lot of people have this confusion because we posted the artists that are diamond, RIAA certified diamond, which is the United States of America. We posted those artists. And of course, you get the comments, what about Give It or Die Trying? What about this album? What about this? Strictly the United States of America. Give It or Die Trying got updated in 2020, I believe, or 2023. Yeah, 2023, I think it was the time when Give It or Die Trying got updated. And it was 9 times platinum. It wasn't diamond yet. Now, if we did an update on Give It or Die Trying right now, I'm pretty sure it would be a diamond album. So 50 does have technically never mind, I'm wrong. It got updated in 2020, which is odd timing, but 2020. So by now, that album is 100% diamond. Like there's no way in 5 years it didn't get another million in sales versus streaming and all that stuff, especially with PIMP surpassing 1 billion streams, In the Club surpassing, I think, 2 billion, and other records and whatever. So it is technically diamond, but it's not officially updated as diamond. And that's the problem is a lot of people get confused with worldwide sales and RIAA. RIAA is strictly the United States of America. It has nothing to do with worldwide sales. I know 50 mentioned, worldwide sales, the album it went diamond worldwide a long time ago. But we're talking about the United States of America. So first, let me get out that I had to say that because I received so many comments when I was posting that these are the artists that went diamond. It was ridiculous. Let's get back to Drake. So he is the only artist right now in the lead with 16 diamond certified records. He has 15 of them are songs, which is insane. So 15 songs sold over 10 million units. And I know people are going to be like, but this is streaming, blah, 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 whatever. Still, insane, thing. And he got his first album, Take Care. So Take Care was released in 2011. It is 2025. So what, 14... what's the math on that, man? Fucking, I'm terrible at this shit. 2021 would be 10 years, 22, 23, 24, 25. So 14 years it took for Drake to get a diamond album. Now, what people are going to say, it's because of streaming. No, he would have never done this. No. Don't discredit Drake like that because Take Care sold, what was it, about 650,000 first week. Ended up selling 4 million physical copies in a span of like 4 or 5 years, I think. So just because, here's the thing, Drake was selling records on the tail end of physical CDs. For him to do that is a huge accomplishment because at that time, CDs were really in the shitter and weren't selling. That's why the industry had to pivot to streaming because just selling albums back then was extremely hard. Only a few artists were doing it. So Drake was selling CDs on the tail end of CDs. So imagine the prime of when CDs were selling. He would have gone diamond, no problem, easily. He probably would have sold a couple million copies first week, on an album too, even though on views he technically did 1 million copies. It was about 860 or 70 physical and then like 200 or 150,000 streams at the time in sales. So he did 1 million, but with combined streams and actual physical CDs. So it still counted as 1 million. But regardless, his next album that's on pace to do diamond is Views. I think that's 9 times platinum. So he's really like on the cusp of that. And then Nothing Was the Same, I think, is 7 times, or another album that he has is close. So in a span of about 5 years, maybe 7 years, somewhere around there, he's going to have 3 diamond albums, which is insane. 3 diamond albums, and who knows how many songs are going to be diamond. He's probably going to have like 25 or 30 songs diamond, which is going to extend his record to being like the most diamond certified artist in the history of music. Drake was like leading by a long shot in combined sales, streams, singles. The guy is doing numbers-wise insane numbers. The only problem with this is I think Michael Jackson would be way higher up there, but you got to remember when Michael Jackson was at his peak, he wasn't really getting proper counting in terms of sales because Nielsen SoundScan didn't start doing counting of sales till 1991. So back then, labels would count sales and then they would report it. But even then, it wasn't as frequent. It wasn't as accurate. So his numbers got a lot of artists at the time. Their numbers are skewed and not really accurate. You know, they weren't really keeping track. So I think Michael Jackson would be really high up there as well. But Drake is just, you know, and he's still relevant. You know, people are waiting for Iceman. So he's been dropping a lot of music. He's been consistent. So anybody discrediting him or just saying, oh, it's because of streams, nah. A lot of the albums that he was selling was physical back then, man. A lot. Nothing was the same, was still physical. Streaming didn't get added to actual sales till December 2015. So basically 2016. It didn't get added to actual sales. So whatever you did streaming before that, it wasn't added and figurated. And then Apple Music came out in mid 2016. So like streaming was still getting implemented while Drake was doing his insane run. So to say like just dismiss it and be like, oh, it's all because of streaming. No, I get these singles. You can kind of argue the singles because singles, you know, singles would sell more back then when Drake was running versus albums. Like singles would end up going, you know, 4 million, 5 million, 6 million versus actual albums because of iTunes. That whole thing shifted the game. Because back then, like, if you count singles back then, they weren't really doing numbers. Like in the 2000s, it was mainly albums doing numbers. But regardless, huge accomplishment, huge, record-breaking thing. Anybody dismissing it is just straight up hater at that point. I think if you're just saying, oh, look at streams because of this, like, no, man. A lot of it's physical, especially with Take Care. You can't make that argument. You can make the argument for All the Dogs or Certified Lover Boy, his newer albums. You could make the argument, oh, it's because of streams. Regardless, you know, he's doing the numbers. Yeah, some of it you could say, it's a little bit this and that. But here's another thing to keep this in mind. These certifications are only as good as when the label updates it. So you got to think Dr. Dre, his album, The Chronic, was, I could be wrong. Let me actually look this up just to make sure. I just want to give you examples of things not being updated, right? And you don't know really the numbers. So Dr. Dre's The Chronic was 3 times platinum. That's 3 million sold. And the last time this was updated was in November of 1993. We are in 2025. That is what? I want to say 30, my math is horrible, 32 years, I think. Wait, 2003, 2013, 2023. Yeah, so 32 years ago was the last time this was updated. You can imagine this album is diamond by now. I would be genuinely surprised if it wasn't. So there are artists right now that have albums that are technically diamond that aren't being recognized or haven't been updated. Which for whatever reason, I don't know why. Dr. Dre's been on Interscope for a long ass time of his career. So why isn't this updated? Dr. Dre's 2001. Look at this. 6 times platinum. This is November of 2000. We're in 2000. That's 25 years ago. This album is diamond, 100%. 4 million sold from then, 2000 till now, easily. 2001 is a fucking, forgot about Dre in itself is a classic, not to mention all other records on there. But yeah, this is my point is there are artists that have diamond albums. I'm sure Dr. Dre has 2 of them, to be honest with you. There are artists that have records and singles that haven't been updated in God knows how long. So you got to take RIAA with a grain of salt because some artists' stuff just hasn't been updated. And it falls on the shoulders of the record label. They have to pay RIAA to update them. And some of these artists, the Dr. Dre one doesn't make any sense, but some of these artists aren't on the label anymore, so why should they update them? What's the reason for them to do that, right? So I was looking at Lloyd Banks and stuff. His shit hasn't been updated since 2004, 2006. And he was signed to Interscope / G-Unit, so could G-Unit go in there? But he hasn't been with Interscope in a long-ass time. So why would they fork out money to update his certifications? And going back to the audit thing, what it does too is it also reminds artists of how many records they sold, and they could be like, where's my money? I sold all these records. And then it could force an artist to do an audit on the label. So it could cause problems in that sense, you know? So labels are very sneaky. They probably don't want to update things just because they want to keep artists out of the loop of how much records they sold. I don't know what artists get their numbers and what they don't, because some artists know. They'll say, oh, I actually sold this amount of records, and it hasn't been updated. Some artists have no idea. So it does play into that type of thing, is where it's an industry that's snaky, and they don't want to reveal the numbers completely because then they would have to pay their artists more or whatever the case may be. But just keep in mind that a lot of artists haven't gotten their shit updated. So take a lot of these certifications with a grain of salt, because some of them have records that sold and they haven't been updated. But yeah, regardless, that doesn't take away from what Drake has done. Drake's just getting his RIAA certifications updated a lot more frequently. He gets his updated probably every 2 to 3 years. So yeah, that's what that is. But round of applause to him. Very, very cool feat. Let's talk about something Ish said on Joe Budden's podcast. I know I addressed one of the things that Joe Budden's podcast people said previous episode, but I want to talk about this because it was an interesting conversation. And it's an interesting way to discredit 50 Cent's run. And this is the funny thing. I don't know if Joe Budden is being backed by Roc Nation and Jay-Z, because there's a lot of conspiracy theories about Jay-Z running a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff. But it's interesting to see like certain artists' legacies get dwindled and diminished, and but he did this because he didn't have competition. He did this because, regardless, the artist did it, no matter how you look at it. So I say that to say Ish defends, because they're talking about like who had the biggest prime run, 97 to 99 DMX, whatever, 94 to 96 Nas, these years like 2003 to 2007 50 Cent, whatever the years were. They just are arguing about or debating who had the better run at that time, right? And Ish says, well, DMX, I think, had a better run than 50 Cent because, DMX had a lot more competition. And, because of that, he was dominating despite the competition. Well, this is why I wish I was on the podcast to kind of just shut all that shit down, because first, DMX did amazing numbers. No disrespect to DMX. Went number one twice in 1 year. Sold. The interesting thing about DMX's career is he sold a lot of albums, but never had like a hit record on the Billboard Hot 100. Like a lot of his records never went number one. I don't think he did. I don't think he even has a number one record on the Billboard Hot 100, which is the singles chart, not the albums chart. That's the Billboard 200. Let me see. No number one hit. He's had 16 songs on the Hot 100. And the highest he's ever had a song was Rough Riders Anthem, and that was at 16. And that was actually a new peak when he died. That was in 2021. So the previous peak, which I don't think it shows on here. So the previous peak was The Locks featuring DMX and Lil Kim, Money, Power, Respect. That was number 17. Party Up in Here, which is, that record that was huge. That only peaked at number 27 on the Billboard Hot 100. So you got to think at that time, his singles weren't really doing that well, but his albums were selling, man. He was doing like 600,000 first week. Some albums doing 400,000 first week. So he was doing great numbers. So they talk about 50 and his run, and they, what Ish does? He just disrespects 50's run and says, he didn't have competition. That's why he had this insane run, basically. That he wasn't really competing with people. And this is where I jump in and say, you're wrong. And this is the problem is, when people argue hip-hop, some people only think about America, or they only think of the hip-hop genre, when you got to think of music as a whole. Now, if you say rappers, right, 50 didn't have competition because we're just talking strictly rappers and hip-hop, how is that 50's fault? Because he was that dominant that everybody else seemed like they were not competition? Just 50 was just that dominant. It's like Floyd beating the shit out of every boxer that came in front of him. He's just that good. He was just that dominant. He was selling 800 to 1 million copies first week per album that he dropped, and everybody else was selling 300, 400,000. If they were lucky, some were doing 200,000. How is that 50's fault that he was just that much bigger and better? That's not that there was no competition. Just people couldn't even get close to him to make it seem like competition. The only rapper at that time that was competing with 50, and this is crazy to say because they ended up battling in 2007, was Kanye West. His first album released, it did 400,000 first week. Good numbers. But 50 did 800,000, clearly a different level. Then the next album, 50 did 1.1 million in 4 days, and then Kanye did 800-something thousand the second week, or the first week of his late registration, I believe it was, or college dropout, one of those two. I think it was late registration. But regardless, that was the only artist that was doing like 800, 700. Like everybody else was 300, 400. Some were doing 200. Maybe some got to 500,000. But it was very, very, some only did 150, 200. It's not 50's fault that Jay-Z retired and got scared and dipped out when 50 was on his run. There's the competition. Ran away. What are you going to do about it? DMX started falling off, unfortunately. He was having label issues, and just the records weren't hitting like they were. Nas was falling off, no disrespect. The God's Plan debuted at number 18 and did 150,000 first week. Number 18 debut. So anybody argue me with that? If you debut your album at 18, going from number 1, number 2, number 3, and you debut at 18, you fell off. That's just the reality situation. Oh, but Quake, he dropped it as a dedication album to his mom. I don't care. A dedication album can be a fire album and sell records too. What's the excuse? So he fell off. Jay-Z retired. DMX started falling off. Ja Rule got destroyed by 50. New York wasn't really dominant. What was 50 competing with? He was competing with other genres. Evanescence, Linkin Park. Outkast was in hip-hop. He was competing with them. They were selling records. It's not 50's fault that he was all the way up here and everybody in hip-hop was way below him. How is that 50? How is that 50 doesn't have competition? No, his competition was with people that were selling Diamond, that were going 10 million sold. That was his competition because that's what he was doing. So how is that no competition? Sorry that it's not boxed into just hip-hop or boxed into just New York. Like, what the fuck? Think broader. Think worldwide. Think other genres. 50 was competing with Linkin Park that was doing Diamond on their albums, that was selling 1 million copies first week, 700,000 copies first week. Eminence and selling all these crazy copies first week. Whatever, Britney Spears, NSYNC, whoever the fuck at the time was popping up, Outkast, whoever's blowing up around that time. Every other rapper wasn't just doing records like that. Now, were they going, Ludacris was doing numbers, 400,000, 500,000 first week. His albums would go triple platinum. Great numbers. But was that 50 Cent numbers doing Get Rich or Die Trying in America alone the first year did 6 million? That's versus 3 million. You're doing double their number. You're in a different league. You're in the league of the white world where albums are selling, pop world where you're just dominating. You're not competing with Jadakiss and the Locks and State Property and all this. That's no disrespect to them, but there's levels to this shit. Jay-Z never even reached that level. His best-selling first-week album was 600,000 copies. So that's great. Great numbers. 600,000 is nothing to just disrespect and, be like, oh, it's nothing. That's great numbers, but was that 1.1 million in 4 days? Was that 800,000 the first week? Was that nearly 700,000 with Curtis? I mean, it's close to that one. But 50 was doing numbers for that run that he had. 50 had the most dominant run. He was competing with as much people as he could compete with, but he's just beating them by a long shot. That's not to say that he doesn't have competition. So, yeah, I just wanted to respond to that. I think it's a way to diminish 50's run. It's not 50's fault. He was competing with genres that were way bigger, and he was competing with every artist instead of being boxed into just hip hop. So that take was really, really stupid. And it's just, it's a way to just dismiss certain people's runs and say, he didn't have competition. No, he was just dominating the competition. He was just destroying them out the water. Hey, you have competition, but you're just destroying them. So there is no competition at that point, at least in the hip hop world. He wasn't destroying the Linkin Park and Three Doors Down and Green Day and all these other rock bands and groups and country artists that were selling records. He wasn't destroying them. He was competing with them. They were selling 800,000. He was selling 800,000. They were selling 1 million first week. He was selling. Usher was competing with them, R&B. So there was different genres competing with him, not really hip hop. Hip hop, he outgrew that quick. The second his album dropped, he was a pop star, and there's nothing wrong with calling a rapper a pop star. Pop is literally short for popular music. Nothing wrong with having popular music. It's unfortunate that some artists never got that pop star title because they never got their popular music ever. And there's nothing wrong with that, man. But yeah, that's my take on that. And yeah, 50 was competing with worldwide artists. He wasn't competing with some local New York rapper or local Atlanta TI artist or whoever else you want to throw in the fit. And there's no disrespect to them. They just weren't doing numbers that 50 was doing. And that's just the reality of the situation. Let's get into New Music Friday. Moneybagg Yo dropped Free Feet on Land featuring G Herbo. Dave dropped The Boy Who Played the Harp album. T Grizzly dropped Voicemail featuring Rod Wave. Megan Thee Stallion dropped Lover Girl. Tyler dropped Chanel. Mac Miller, Good AM, the 10th Anniversary Edition album. I don't know what changes on there, but I'll check that out. Bolo Dreep dropped Quality Over Quantity. Ian dropped 2005, the album. Miguel dropped Sao, the album. Probably mispronounced that, but shout out to Miguel. Let's go to album sales. Taylor Swift is still at number 1 with 199,000 sold the third week. Shout out to her. Number 2, Cake Pop, Demon Hunter soundtrack, 99,000 sold. Number 3, Morgan Wallen, I'm the Problem, 83,000 sold. Number 4, Tame Impala, Deadbeat, debuted at number 4, selling 72,000. Sabrina Carpenter, Man's Best Friend, at number 5 with 42,000. Cardi B, Am I the Drama, number 6 with 40,000. Number 7, Olivia Dean, The Art of Lovin', 35,000. Number 8, SZA SOS, 31,000. Number 9, Morgan Wallen, One Thing at a Time, 30,000. Number 10, Alex Warren, You'll Be Alright Kid, with 29,000. Going down the list, NBA YoungBoy went up a lot on the charts. Actually went up percentages, not losing. NBA YoungBoy Massa is at number 16 with 21,000 sold. Last week he was at 22. That's pretty cool. Take Care went up the charts as well a lot. Last week he was at number 28. He's at 19 with Take Care, 19,000 sold. Gunna, the last one's at number 24 with 18,000 sold. Party Next Door and Drake, Some Sexy Songs for You is at number 27 with 18,000 sold. Kendrick Lamar, GNX, number 33 with 15,000 sold. BX The Plug, I Hope You're Happy, number 36 with 14,000 sold. Playboi Carti, The Shitty Artist, is at number 38 with Music, 14,000 sold. Eminem Curtain Call, number 42 with 14,000 sold. Drake Views is back on the top 50 chart at 46 with 13,000 sold. And Michael Jackson's Thriller is back on the top 50 chart at number 49 with 13,000 sold because Halloween's coming up. So Thriller Night. My vocals are terrible, but you get it. And that's it for today's episode of the Diverse Mentality Podcast. Appreciate you guys as always. Stream us, Spotify, Deezer, Podcast, YouTube, all that. Have an amazing night, day, whenever you listen to this, and peace.